SANZAR have implemented 4 rule changes for the Rugby Championship. Scrum and line-out shot clocks, red card variations, the protection of the scrum off, and a play-on from a skew line-out throw. The question is, how are these rule changes going to affect the Springboks and especially the bomb squad? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you haven't, please make sure you absolutely murder that subscribe button, and also let me know what you think of the phrase murder that subscribe button, because some people love it, some people hate it. Let me know down in the comments. Leave this video a like, and let's get into these new rule changes and how they're going to affect the Springboks. So let's first start off with the red card variations. Now, this is a bit of an interesting one because there is that fine line between, is it a yellow card, is it a red card, was this deliberate, was the action not deliberate? So what the SANZAR are going to implement in the Rugby Championship is a little bit of a variation. There are going to be 2 types of red cards. So you still have your yellow cards for your less serious offenses, but then you'll get a full red card for a deliberate and dangerous foul play, resulting in the player being sent off without a replacement. So that is a normal red card, like Andre Esterhuizen got sent off in the 3rd minute against Portugal, and then the Springboks played with 14 men for the rest of that game. What they're implementing now is the 20-minute red card for less severe offenses, allowing the offending player not to come back on after 20 minutes, but to be replaced after 20 minutes. So again, with that Andre Esterhuizen example, he goes off in the 3rd minute. 20 minutes later, then the Springboks could have brought on Sasha Ngumazulu in that number 12 position, and he could continue the rest of the game, and the Springboks could have 15 men on the pitch. Now, I don't know if this is a good or bad idea. Basically, what they're implementing is an orange card. You got your yellow card for not serious events. You got your red card for serious actions. Then you got this sort of middle one, 20 minutes off the pitch, and you can be replaced, but you can't come back onto the field. So it's going to be interesting to see how the referees conduct this, because there is a fine line between that 20-minute red card and a full red card. I think in the case of Andre Esterhuizen in that Portugal test, I think that is where it'll probably be a 20-minute red card, because it wasn't that severe and it wasn't that intentional. The key word in here is a full red card for deliberate and dangerous foul play. So head-on-head contact, going into a tackle, not really looking where you're going, isn't deliberate. Deliberate would be a shoulder charge to the head or punching someone in a ruck or something like that. So it is going to be very interesting to see how the referees go about that. I don't think that's really going to impact the Springboks much. It's going to impact the whole Rugby Championship. But there are changes to the laws that are going to impact the Springboks, and even Joe Schmidt, the Australian coach, thinks the same for the Springboks. The second law that we're going to look at is the play on from a skew line-out throw. Now this is pretty self-explanatory. If the opposition team doesn't contest and the ball is thrown in skew, then it is play on. Normally it'd be a scrum or a penalty to the other team, but now it's going to be nothing. If they don't contest and it's a skew ball, it's just going to be play on, which I don't think is going to affect much. You might see teams competing a little bit more in the lineouts just in case it is a skew throw. So maybe when you're on your 5 meter, you will go up and hope that the hooker throws a skew throw, so that then they'll get penalized, because if you don't go up and you try and defend the maul, then they can just play on. So again, going to be interesting to see how teams adapt to this new law change. I don't think it's going to change too much. The only thing I can think of is that we will have more contestable lineouts, which again provides more action, which is exactly what the rugby world want. Then the final 2 law changes, which will definitely affect how the Springboks play, is the scrum and lineout shot clock and the protection of the number 9, and also enforcing the use it rule for that number 9. Now, first of all, for the scrum and lineout shot clock, kickers will have 60 seconds for conversions and penalties, which has been quite standard, but teams have now 30 seconds to reset a scrum or lineout, which means that the Springboks normally take their time. They like to go from set piece to set piece because that is our strength, right? And if we have to get to set pieces and reset set pieces in a quicker amount of time, then our forwards could get a little bit more tired. And this is where Joe Schmidt is kind of saying that the bomb squad isn't going to be as effective for the Springboks, because the forwards are going to get tired quicker, which means the bomb squad is going to have to come on earlier. Now, I have a counter argument to this. both sides will be going to a scrum or a line-out and having to set up quicker. The more scrums and the more line-outs that the Springboks can get under their belt before the bomb squad comes on, the better for the bomb squad. It's not only the Springboks that are going to be getting fatigued, it's also going to be Australia, it's also going to be New Zealand that will be getting fatigued at these set pieces. So it's actually works out better for the Springboks that there will be more set pieces, that it's a quicker reset, because if you can deteriorate the Australian or New Zealand pack even quicker, then the bomb squad arguably has more of an impact coming on off the bench. Remember, this is the bread and butter of the Springboks, is set pieces, it's scrums. So having more scrums, having less time in between scrums. I mean, we saw the famous Damian Willemse, he called the scrum off a mark, so that the Springboks could scrum against France even more, so that they could tire the French forwards out even more, and that resulted in a 1-point win. So all of these rule changes are a little bit strange, and it aims to sort of pick up the pace of the game so that there's more action, so that there's more passes, there's more ball in field. But I don't think that this is necessarily a bad rule change for the Springboks, because the Australian New Zealand packs are going to get just as tired, and then we bring on our bomb squad, 6 forwards, and they can get to business up front as well. So as much as Joe Smith, the Australian coach, thinks that this is going to hinder the Springboks and the bomb squad, I don't think so. I think it's going to be an advantage for the Springboks and the bomb squad. And the final law is the protection of the scrum off and the enforcement of the use it rule. Now, the refs are really going to clamp down on the use it rule at ruck time. Once the referee says use it, whether it's in a maul or at a ruck, behind the ruck, then the scrum off has 5 seconds to get rid of that ball. Now, the facet of the game that this is going to impact is the box kick. And we know how important the box kick has been to the Springboks in the past. If you're not able to set your box kick and your forwards up correctly, then there could be a little bit of problems at the base of the ruck. It's a very, very quick turnaround time to set up a box kick, to make sure the wings are chasing, to make sure that you get it pinpoint accurate. Now, the way that the Springboks are going to have to sort of go around this is making sure that there are enough cleaners at the breakdown. Getting to the breakdown quick, getting the scrum off to the breakdown quick, setting up quickly, and then launching those box kicks. But I also don't think that this is only going to affect the Springboks. It's going to affect Australia. It's going to affect New Zealand. And again, it's just reinforcing more running rugby. So if the Springboks can still find a way to, even though in those 3, 4, 5 seconds after the user call, get those box kicks and those tactical kicks into the pinpoint locations they want it, then the Springboks are going to be even more dangerous, because you've got to remember that box kick's going over, Australia's going to catch it, we're going to tackle them there, maybe in their 22 or just outside, and then Australia have 3 to 5 seconds to get rid of that ball. So other than that, I think we might also see a little bit more kicking off of that 10 position. Over the past few years, box kicks have sort of come more into fashion, because you are that 5 to 10 meters in front of the number 10. So the distance you can get is a little bit better. But I think with this new use it rule to be reinforced, we're going to see a lot more kicking off of that 10. So Sasha Fambo Ngumazulu is going to have a very, very good game against Australia this week, Saturday. And his kicking is going to have to be pinpoint. It's going to have to be tactical. And he's really going to have to operate that game. Luckily for him, Kobus Reinach is a very, very experienced scrum off. So he'll know if he has time to box kick or not, or if he should send it to Sasha at the back. Now, a lot of the press this week were asking Rassie Erasmus, how are they going to adapt to this? Is this going to affect their game? We obviously know what Joe Schmidt's comments were, saying that this is going to hinder the Springboks a little bit and put them under the pump, and maybe the bomb squad isn't going to be as effective. Well, this is what Rassie said. What we just have to do is be the first team that adapts the best, and we've been working really hard with Jaco Paper, and we've known about the law changes, and we are on top of it. It's also a massive, massive key that Jaco Paper is part of the coaching staff for the Springboks. So he can really keep a close eye on, are we playing right in practice, or are we not? We need to tweak this, we need to tweak that. Now, again, a lot of these law changes we might not see in full effect in the Rugby Championship, but I do think they are trialing it in the Rugby Championship. The red card is going to be interesting to see. It's sort of an orange card implementation. The shot clocks on scrums and lineouts is there to increase the pace of the game, which for me arguably makes the bomb squad more effective. The protection of the scrum off and the use it rule, it's going to be interesting to see. Are we going to be able to get as many box kicks off as we normally do? Or is Sasha going to have to play that pivotal 10 role and kick tactically? And then the play on from skew lineouts, we may or may not see more contestable lineouts. So let me know what you guys think of these rule changes. Let me know you think how it affects the Springboks. If you haven't, please make sure you absolutely move that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.